So our bird adoptions are a great help to us for a little bit of extra income, and it helps in a normal year to further our maintenance schedule to the aviaries and the centre as a whole. And one thing you get is a little plaque with your name on it, just to say, you know, that you've adopted this bird. So first one, I've got to get this one pretty straight. So this is Willow the Tawny Owl, and she's been adopted by Evie Holton, a young lady. I don't know who put that screw in, but that's not straight. That's going to mess with my OCD. But the plaque is pretty straight. Now, you don't just get a plaque, obviously. The adoptions are £50, and you get a nice certificate that you get sent out, and an adoption pack. So a little bit about the bird that you've adopted, a certificate to say you've adopted it. So obviously they make fantastic presents. And every year, somewhere in September, we do a one-off adopters evening, and our adopters are invited along with a guest to come and spend the evening with us. We'll have some snacks and some drinks, and we'll fly some of the adopted birds. Now, we don't fly all the adopted birds because it would take more than a day, but we'll fly some of the birds that have been adopted by the crowd or the adopters. And really, it's just a lovely evening where they can come and meet their birds again, and also we'll tell them a little bit about sort of where the collective money's gone and what we've been doing that year at Icarus Falconry. So our experience days don't just make fantastic gifts. You can also adopt a bird. They're £50, and again, it just goes towards helping sort of running the place, really. And we're really grateful to all the people that have brought experience days in the last 12 months. It's been difficult times, and to our adopters. One more thing, you get added onto our WhatsApp our WhatsApp adopters group if you want to. And the girls here, Joe and Emily, they'll post things, and Karen, who runs the adopters, they'll post little things about the birds on a sort of a daily, weekly basis as something funny or different happens. So you kind of keep it in touch, really. Check out the rest of the vlog. Look at these, fascinating bumps in the ground everywhere. They've got their own micro habitats of plant life. They're added to by rabbit droppings, where the rabbits mark out their territory. And some of these are incredibly ancient things. Every one of these bumps is actually made by ants. And the way the rabbits graze them, and the way they're raised up into the atmosphere, if you like, the way they catch the sun, and everything about them means they literally do have their own micro habitat. And fascinating. Have a look at this. It's like a lunar landscape. It's quite a rare and unusual habitat, really, to see a whole area covered in them like this. It's really amazing. Look at them. Graze down. I mean, this time of year with the damp, the mosses are really prevalent and noticeable, giving it a real lush green colour. Absolutely amazing. Have a look at this as well. This pond system is great habitat for great crested newts. There's always been lots of them in here, but it is getting gradually choked up. And this is what happens, isn't it? Nature takes over, and either you can manage it for wildlife, because most of the English countryside, British countryside, really is managed because of all of us humans and the way we've used it over the years. So we can either leave this pond alone, in which case it will gradually be completely full of silt from the biodegrading vegetation here, and it will eventually have trees on it, basically, and it will completely disappear as a pond, which is natural, or we can manage this, and certainly in big areas, pull out the reeds so that we've got habitat for the great crested newts that definitely live here. So it's the same as a garden. You can manage it for diversity, or you can let nature take its course and let it rewild. But rewilding in a built-up populous area, you are going to lose biodiversity for sure. And it depends what you like, doesn't it? What you want to see. For me, I'd rather see great crested newts than a bit more undergrowth. So here's a prime example further up the pond system. All of this here is now pretty much earth. It floods and gets a bit marshy, but what was once a large pond area full of British amphibians is now reduced to a very, very small area, which itself is filling up fast with detritus and turning into soil, really. Habitat management is definitely key if you want biodiversity. Certainly for much of England, rewilding is a very difficult concept unless you get rid of the people and let it run riot, do its own thing, and other animals such as beavers will create their own pockets for where other animals, amphibious animals, can live. But of course, unfortunately, there's millions of us on this continent, on this island, and little pockets like this in relatively built-up areas. You've got to manage them if you want that diversity of animal life and plant life, really. It's George's birthday today, so we're not doing anything. We're all off work and we're having a nice walk in the local village, a village away from ours. It's quite well known, you might have heard of it. It's called Stoke Bruerne, and it's famous for its canal system and locks, canal boats, museum. And in a normal time, I'd say it's a nice day out on a nice sunny day. Come for a stroll and just take it all in. There's pubs, there's takeaways, of course, very nice. Not today though. So those of you that have been following the vlogs for the last several months will know that Zara was retrained and got her fitness back early in the season, maybe September, October time. And then her falconry season was completely cut short because of bird flu. And although she's usually flown out of the hood at specific quarry, she does like to chase those things. Now, it's one thing flying your birds during a avian influenza pandemic, but of course it's another thing your birds catching other wild birds and eating them. You're increasing your chances of your bird contracting avian influenza obviously massively if they catch wild birds, especially birds that fly in flocks or group together, and things like ducks and waterfowl are a prime example. So she's been resting in an aviary for most of the season. We've just got her out. We're just going to go back to basics once again, just give her a few flights on the creance line and just check her responses if I don't tangle myself up in it completely, and get her flying again. And she's going to be flying through the summer, because if you remember, and you have been following the vlogs, you remember the demise of Jez, one of our male Harris Hawks. Well, my personal male Nigel, he's got to now fill Jez's boots as his day job, and I'm going to have to retrain Zara a little bit for some of the educational work I do. Now, they're like dogs, you know, you can teach an old dog new tricks, but it's much easier to teach them from the very beginning the job that they're going to do and what you want them to do than it is to retrain them as they've matured in a completely different line of work. But she's a versatile hawk and she'll be pretty good. One of our living dragons has made an appearance out and about. One of our captive bred great crested newts, one of my all-time favourites. Check this out. Just thought I'd show you a quick update of these Barons racers. You may remember us bringing these back and doing a little unboxing. Look how big they've got, but have a look close up at this guy. It's just their noses, isn't it? Absolutely gorgeous. So to give you some idea how much they've grown, they've got amazing prehensile tails. But in the wild, they will live on the ground in certain areas. They live in sort of quite dryish sort of habitat that's not that heavily wooded in some places, and in others in quite well forested habitat. But they're certainly cut out for an arboreal lifestyle. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful. And these guys will get 5 or 6 feet long, so they're a pretty decent size colubrid. Not giant, but not small. And I can't wait for them to grow just a little bit bigger, so they can't escape from a larger viv. And we'll set them up in a sort of a semi-arboreal setup. Probably plastic plants, just as when they get big they tend to destroy plants, but we'll see. I've been doing a bit more work this week with Bob Wilson, the tree surgeon and wood carver, and I had a bit of a rare find. He passed something out from under the hedge and the fallen bramble. He said, "Dave, what's this? I've never seen anything like it." It was bright blue. It looked like malted plastic bag or something on a branch. It was that blue and unnatural looking. And it turns out it's actually a really rare, in the UK, species of fungus. It's called cobalt crust. It's an encrusting fungus. It's absolutely amazingly blue, and actually in close-up it looks a little bit more like sort of soft or encrusting corals on a coral reef. So just check out these pictures following this, because do you know what, I've never seen anything like it. And a good friend of mine took these photos, who's really into this kind of thing, and he's actually said there are such things in the UK as fungi twitchers, people that travel the country to tick off rare and unusual fungi they've seen. And he said the cobalt crust is a lifer. It's one of those things you might see once in your life if you're lucky here in the UK. So what a beautiful, rare and unusual find. So you've got to have a look at this just because it's so unusual and pretty. Thanks for watching. Of course, like and subscribe. But a final note, just to say, thanks for the guys that have got in touch this last week. You know who you are. For no other reason, not wanting anything, literally to just say, we love your channel and we've learnt a few tips and tricks. That's all we want. We want you to enjoy watching them, and whether it's about garden ponds or falconry, whatever, we want you to try and take a little bit away. We've been doing this a long time. We'll never call ourselves experts because we're learning all the time, and that's the beauty of it. But yeah, it's lovely to have the encouragement. So thank you very much for that. See you next time.